Women in Japan band together, asking Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to apologize for Japan's sexual enslavement of women to foster better relations with South Korea. Plus, 2 people are nabbed in South Korea for attempting to join the Islamic State, and if you're looking to go to the tropics, watch out. Those stories are coming up next. This is the Asia Brief. Hey everyone, Steve Miller here on this Thursday, October 22nd, 2015. Thank you so much for joining me. Before we begin, a bit of a correction on yesterday's podcast. I used the term succumb to cancer and the word death on the original thumbnail to discuss the announcement that a TEPCO worker had been diagnosed with leukemia. Original reports used the term radiation casualty when discussing the circumstances. While that worker does have cancer, it does not appear fatal at this time, and he's undergoing treatment. I apologize for any kind of confusion the report may have caused. Wednesday, a group of Japanese women came together and called upon Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to apologize for the sexual enslavement of Korean women during the occupation of the peninsula, ahead of the trilateral meeting in Seoul with Presidents Park Geun-hye and Xi Jinping. It's important to open the Japan-South Korea summit so the comfort women issue can be settled and the bilateral relations can normalize, the group of 1,500 Japanese women for settlement of the comfort women issue said in a statement. They asked that the Prime Minister make a formal resolution. They added that it's impossible to settle the wartime atrocity issue without Japan's initiative and for compensation to be awarded. It's a nice gesture, and one that would go a long way to building strong ties between the two nations, whose history will forever be intertwined. But the message will fall on deaf ears. Abe and the LDP have made their position clear. No new apologies, and all reparations were paid in 1965. But the overture does show a growing number in Japan that are ready to tackle their history head-on and to face the music of the past. We saw historians and even the royal family make pleas to step up to the plate and do what's right. If these 1,500 women and more groups continue to vocalize their opinions, then in time, enough social pressure will come to bear that Japan will finally be ready to address this matter and resolve it. Earlier this year, news that an 18-year-old middle school dropout conned his family into a trip to the Middle East so he could join the Islamic State surprised many in South Korea. This week, the nation took more proactive steps to prevent a repeat situation, as it confiscated the passports of 2 nationals because of a perceived plan to travel abroad and join the terrorist group. Furthermore, according to the National Intelligence Service during a National Assembly audit, 5 foreign jihadis were also arrested on charges of attempting to smuggle ammonium nitrate into Korea, which can be used to make improvised explosive devices. The spy service official said, quote, "Korea is no longer a safe haven when it comes to terrorism," end quote. ISIS is currently making a push into several Asian countries and has claimed responsibility for the recent international killings in Bangladesh. While it is important for organizations like the Intelligence Service to apprehend those aiding ISIS or trying to enlist to bolster its numbers, collectively, governments still need to come together and fight the PR battle ISIS excels at. Winter is coming. That may be an old, tired joke when it comes to this time of year, but I do like saying it. Like many others who abhor the cold, this time of year I usually start planning for an extended Southeast Asian vacation. The WHO reports that dengue fever, but the World Health Organization has issued a word of caution, as thousands of Asians have been afflicted with dengue fever. The Philippines, Myanmar, Malaysia, Taiwan, Thailand, and Vietnam are among the countries that have seen a significant spike in the mosquito-borne disease, while India's capital of New Delhi is in the grip of the worst dengue outbreak in almost 20 years. The WHO reports that dengue fever is the world's fastest-spreading tropical disease, and hospitals are overrun with thousands of people showing symptoms of a high fever, vomiting, and incredible joint pain. What makes the situation worse is that there's no easy fix for those with it, other than bed rest, something for the fever, and to take in fluids. This, unfortunately, leads to hospital overcrowding. In fact, in Delhi, a couple jumped to their deaths after their 7-year-old son died of dengue fever. He wasn't admitted to a hospital, despite several attempts by his parents to get him into one. The hospitals said their beds were full and simply couldn't help. In the 1950s, dengue fever was only in a handful of countries. Now it's present in more than 125, a greater number than malaria, which is probably the most famous mosquito-borne disease. Currently, the WHO says there are about 50 million new cases of dengue each year, but fears that that number reflects underreporting, and the true number of cases could be as high as 200 million. In the Philippines, which was devastated by Typhoon Kupo this week, fears exist that the excessive water could cause a spike in the number of dengue cases, as they're already seeing a 32% increase over that of last year. In Myanmar, the number is much worse. The country is reporting a 200% increase in the number of dengue illnesses from last year. Health experts say that while the world focused on eradicating malaria, which does have a higher mortality rate, the fight against dengue lacked a long-term plan and focused on controlling outbreaks rather than tackling its vector issues. At this time, there is no cure or vaccine for dengue fever, but French drug maker Sanofi SA hopes to win approval for the world's first dengue vaccine soon. That'll do it for me today, but if you have any thoughts about any of these stories or something else I share via social media, please take a moment and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. The Asia Brief is a special feature of the Asia News Weekly podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with your friends, and if you haven't, subscribe. Subscribing is free, and when you do, the next episode is delivered automatically to you. You can subscribe on our website, asianewsweekly.net, or in your favorite podcast application. You can also keep up with more news from the region by following Asia News Weekly on Facebook or Twitter. And if you have any comments, questions, or feedback, be sure to drop us a line. That email address is podcast@asianewsweekly.net. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, remember to be true to yourself and to always be awesome.